into my video, before I dive into my video, I would like to remind you all and tell you all that my channel is on specific topics, and I'm only going to be speaking about certain topics, and I'm going to list them right now. It's domestic violence issues, alcoholism, drug addiction, mental illness, trauma, and the abuse of the government to people, and the abuse of powers by government, families, organizations, churches, tyranny in general. So once again, it's tyranny. So that covers domestic violence, mental illness, alcoholism, drug addiction, the terms that they use in the culture in the modern world. So today's video is about, let's talk about Salt Lake City, the capital of Mormonism, and the state of Utah, Mormon capital of the world. We're going to dive deep for a couple minutes, just a couple minutes, very brief. I've said it many times. I'm going to repeat myself because that's what I like to do. So if you ever see me repeating myself in videos, because I do it 100 times in every video, I do it on purpose. Anyways, if you have children, don't ever live in Utah. Get the laws changed before you ever live in Utah. Get the laws changed in many states before you ever live there. You need to know your laws before you live somewhere. In Utah, they have the law that says that certain men aren't allowed to know that their child is being adopted out. That's a Utah law in Mormon capital of the world. Okay? Very concerning to normal people that have a brain, that have intellect, that know right from wrong. Normal people can see, yeah, that's psycho. That's psycho. That's predatory. That's obviously a government that is a pedophilia government in the state of Utah. When you have a law that says a man has no right to know his child is being adopted out, that 100% means that Utah government is pedophilia. Then you have DCFS judges that call people child abusers that didn't abuse their children. That is called a pedophilia government. Then you have DCFS that holds children hostage on zero evidence. That's called pedophilia government. You have cops that kidnap children and kidnap their parents on zero evidence of child abuse and child neglect. That's called a pedophilia police system. That's what that's called. But people think they're public servants. There are people that have bumper stickers, "We back the blue," but they're straight up pedophiles. Alright. So anybody that has a bumper sticker on your car, house, your organization, your job, workplace, you are backing people that are pedophiles. Pedophiles. They prey upon children. What does that say about you and your friends and your family that support, and your neighbors that support the government? They are straight up pedophiles. Then you have homelessness and addiction, drug addicts and alcoholics everywhere. In every single city in America. What does that say about people? What does that say about the Christians and non-Christians of America? Who is speaking to these people? Who is helping these people? There are homeless people everywhere, countless, endless homeless people, addicts. They're mentally ill, they're physically disabled, there's people in wheelchairs. Okay? And this is also going on in the capital of Mormonism in Salt Lake City. For those that don't remember or don't know, if you've ever been to Salt Lake City or not, here's some education. Across the street from the Temple Square, they have a mall. And, but also outside the gates of Temple Square, which is all the Mormon buildings. And there's homeless everywhere, every single day. And they're drug addicts, they're alcoholics, they're mentally ill, they're physically disabled. There's people in wheelchairs with signs. And these people will be out there every single day. Okay? Are you seeing Mormons preaching their gospels on the streets to these homeless people, to these addicts? No. But they sure as hell go to foreign countries for 2 years, or to a foreign state to an individual, and make them preach the gospel for 2 years straight, though. But then people are coming home and they're not preaching on the streets to their neighbors that are drug addicts, alcoholics, mentally ill, physically disabled. Yeah? Alright. So do you comprehend that? I know this is going to go over a lot of people's heads, because a lot of people think they're intelligent, but they're not that intelligent. Because if you really knew Mormonism, then you would know that it's really not all that you think it is. It's not all cracked up. It's not all that great. If Mormonism was so great, then how come people aren't coming back off their missions and preaching on the street every single time they go to the mall? How come they're not preaching to their homeless neighbors, their mentally ill neighbors, their handicapped neighbors, and preaching them the word of God? Because I doubt that's going on. I doubt it 100%. Instead, Mormons are all about buying more and more realty, buying more and more houses, more and more clothing, more and more vacations. But you know they're not helping the homeless and the drug addicts and the alcoholics and domestic violence survivors and mentally ill, the handicapped, mentally and physically. You know that's not going on. It's not. If people were getting the help that they needed and they deserved, you would not have homeless people everywhere. And it's right in the heart of Salt Lake City, all over Salt Lake City. There's homeless people everywhere. There's drug addicts everywhere. If people actually help people, you wouldn't have this problem in your own city, the Mormon capital of the world. And in any city across the nation that has Christians, whether you're Christian or non-Christian, are you helping your neighbors? Are you helping your family members and friends and neighbors and associations that are homeless, that are drug addicts, that are alcoholics, whether they're functioning or non-functioning? Because even if they still can hold a job or still can have an apartment or a house, but they drink or do drugs, yeah, that's called functioning alcoholic, functioning drug addict, versus a non-functioning one that sleeps outside. That's the difference in America also, is people think that they're so good that are functioning, or that their friends and family and neighbors are so good because they're functioning alcoholics and functioning drug addicts that can hold a home and hold a job at the same time. And then they judge and criticize the people that sleep outside. So that goes on. And it's incredible. This nation's incredible. Because most people, they're not charitable. Most people, they're not giving back to their communities. They're not giving back. Most Christians and Mormons, they're not giving back to charities. They're not giving people face-to-face time in person and talking to them and sharing them the gospel of Jesus Christ. Life-saving words. But people aren't doing it. I know they're not doing it. There's no doubt in my mind. Why? The evidence is everywhere. When there's addicts everywhere you go and homeless people everywhere you go, you know that people aren't doing their duties. People they prioritize on all different levels. People rather sin in America than actually dive deep into the homeless issue, to the addiction issue, the domestic violence issues, to DCFS issues, to the jail and prison reform. People would rather sin and worship false idols 24/7 than care about real things.